All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Enlightened Conversations. Really excited for today's guest. We have Howard Falco, who is in Arizona right now, and really excited for you guys to meet him. He is a mental strength expert, spiritual teacher and coach, and also an author. And really excited for him to share with you guys, a little bit more about what I've saw just spending a few minutes on his Instagram page. I could see that he loved to inspire and impact and uplift people, and that's what made me want to have this awesome conversation with him today. And so without further ado from me, let me introduce you guys to Howard Falco. And Howard, if you could share with the audience so they're more familiar with you, who you are, what you do, why you do it, all that good stuff.
Sure, absolutely. First of all, it's great to be on, so thanks for having me. Appreciate what you do, Noel. Thanks for that. What I do is I'm a mental strength coach, peak performance coach, and a spiritual teacher and author. About 15 years ago, I went through a pretty dramatic experience of a natural expansion of mind. It was very, very powerful. And it took me from a guy working just a regular job in the financial business to leaving that to go write and speak about what I had come to understand about the nature of life and existence. First book came out, which is called I Am, The Power of Discovering Who You Really Are. And I was already working with individuals on every life issue and business people. And then I started getting calls from athletes who had read the book and said, hey man, this really helped expand my results once I read this and understood more about myself. And so it was a natural progression of me to start working with athletes about 10, 12 years ago. And since then I've worked with them in every major professional sport and almost all the college sports and then some elite high school. So I do a combination of both spiritual teaching on the individual side, and then I do a lot of elite coaching for high level athletes or individual coaching for corporate executives, those people on that side of the coin. And then I teach and speak.
Love it. And I'm a former athlete myself. I played college baseball, and we could have definitely, I could have personally used your teachings back then. I didn't know a fraction of anything that I've become aware of now.
Cool. That's cool. That's cool that you were at that level. Actually, you're in Florida, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I worked for a season with the Rays, the Tampa Bay Rays. Yeah.
Awesome. And what a great title for a book. I Am. And that's something that I actually discovered every once in a while in life. I'll have different aha moments that will just make an impact and allow me to become aware of some things that up until then I wasn't. And I I attracted a meditation from Wayne Dyer just about a couple weeks ago. It was just nice to include in some of the stuff that I was doing. And it was just an I Am meditation. And you have something to share on that?
No, I find that beautiful synchronicity in you listening to an I Am meditation a week or so ago that you stumbled over from Wayne Dyer, and then having this conversation. I find some really cool synchronicity in that. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Me too. Synchronicity is my favorite part of life. It allows me to not try to predict the details and try to figure out how everything is going to unfold, because we really never can anyway. It's always a mystery.
Right.
And I've found that the more adventurous I can treat life and allow the kind of the plot to the movie to unfold, how it's going to unfold, and just do the part that I can control, which is my vibe right now in the moment. The synchronicities always are pretty fun to experience.
100%. That's a beautiful way to go through life. Yeah,
absolutely. 100%. So question for you, and just to piggyback on the title of your book and what your book is about. And I know for the audience this will be very useful, because until we're aware of different things, they can't really help us. We can't choose to do anything with them. When it comes to I Am, and you could go into what your book is about specifically, or even just what those two words mean to you and how powerful they are, and anything that you're inspired to share with the audience regarding that.
Sure. No, it's a great question. I appreciate that. What inspired the title was the contents of the book. The contents came out first. I had this great experience. I felt like I was birthing something. That's how powerful this energy was moving through me. And so when the chapters came out and I realized what was coming out, it was about total self-awareness, total understanding of how we form our identity from genetics, upbringing, personal experience, and how that gets layered and sort of cemented for a while into this identity that we then seek out to validate. And as I finished the book, I realized that the power was in the power of how we defined ourselves, which is the most powerful statement you can make about yourself on a conscious or subconscious level is I am blank, because whatever you really, not what you think or what you say, but what you truly believe, which can be two separate and distinct different things. And I think that's where a lot of confusion comes in. But what you truly believe about yourself on the most subconscious level is how life connects with us. It's how it brings the conditions towards us, so that what I say I for identity can become am, so that we can know ourselves, that we exist. And I think that's the truth for everything in existence. So for example, the grapefruit tree, the seed of the grapefruit tree, the I am of that seed, so to speak, is I am a grapefruit tree. And that's when the conditions get around it, that's what it's going to become. Now it's got to work its way through the dirt and the darkness for a while and break through the ground and deal with the elements and the conditions and have a branch or two get knocked off. But eventually it's going to fulfill itself by bearing fruit if all the conditions stay around and it pursues long enough as the grapefruit tree. For us as human beings, what was so exciting to me in this revelation, in this period of this transcendent experience, was this idea that we have the ability in any moment to rewrite those I ams. But the only way we can do it is to understand how we got to where we are without any shame, guilt, or regret, just understanding that this is what got us to here. What are the thoughts, ideas, beliefs, attitudes, and energy that will now move us forward? So that's the premise of the book. It really dissects from energy and matter to the psychology, to the spirituality of how we became who we became. And then the last part of the book, once you understand that, allows you to really power through the creative process now with that new understanding.
I love that. That's everything you just described. So powerful. Anybody out there listening, definitely go check out Howard's book, because everything he just described goes into way more detail than actually Howard, a challenge that I put out on social media this past Monday, literally 2 days ago from the time of this recording. Talk about synchronicity. And the challenge was called What's Your Story? And it was just encouraging people to become aware, first and foremost, of what the story is that they're telling about their lives, and that what they see in all areas, whether it be health, relationships, finances, is reflecting what they truly believe to be true about themselves. Same thing that you just said. So encouraging people to first become aware of it, because what I've noticed in life is, until we can, see things that might be blind spots for us, where we don't even know that we're telling this story or that we believe this to be true about ourselves, but it's reflecting in all areas of our life. And once we become aware of it, now we can ask ourselves, what would I like to see in my life?
Exactly.
What story?
What is the intent? Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I always talk to people that I'm working with. What is your intent from this moment? And do the thoughts you brought up to this moment, do they help you get to that intent, to that experience, or do they prevent you from getting there? And that's when finally they'll be able to self-reflect and maybe challenge some long-held beliefs as to whether or not it still serves you in this moment.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
That's really cool. Really cool. No, it's a good challenge.
I've been
really powerful.
I've been inspired to kind of take whoever's attracted to seeing the stuff that I post on Mondays. I've been doing these challenges, and started off just with the foundation for me is always, being aware of my energy in the moment. So that was like the first one. And then I went into synchronicities, and then I went into, so just different things that I want to help people become aware of just when I'm inspired. And it's a beautiful thing about the time that we live in. I'm sure you agree, Howard, as far as we can share things that, years ago could only be found, if you were able to get a hold of someone's, book, or now we can become aware of the book through social media and all these things. There are so many different ways to impact.
Information is instantaneous. Yeah. So you're right. Impact can happen in a single second. Yeah. Which is cool.
And I don't know much Spanish, but I can see your book behind you. You have the I am, and then next to it's in Spanish. Yo soy.
Yeah. So it got published in 13 languages in 13 countries in Spanish. That's one of the rare remaining copies because the publisher years ago they went out. That was in Mexico. But so Yo Soy was published, but I Am is still all around the world in different countries in English. But yeah, and then it's also in Turkish. You could see the red one there. It's Turkish. And then the other book is Time in a Bottle, which was my second book, which is about time and how it plays a role in our life. So
Love it.
yeah.
Love it. So what would you like to share? Because this is what you've already been doing it, and you'll do it throughout this episode. People always do. It just kind of comes out anyways. The reason I always tell people, the reason I started sharing anything on social media is because I had such appreciation for authors like you, or people just over the years, like before, I discovered any of this stuff, had decided to write a book or to record an audio or make a video or something that could help us become more aware of some things that otherwise we just have to have our personal life experience, and eventually we probably uncover it for ourselves, but can definitely shorten the process if other people can, share.
Yeah. And that's the whole point of my work. What I realized when I had my experience, I call it happened in two events. The first event, let me take you back a little bit, and then I'll explain why I've dedicated my life to this. Well, there's a number of reasons why, but the main reason is the grace was overwhelming, and I felt it was a great honor to be able to share that grace for the rest of my life, no matter what it meant as far as me, whatever I had to do that, and what I have adjustments I had to make in family life and everything to do that. So it was a great honor to do that. But what was one of the cool things was I was at this period, I've always been very curious about life since I was a little kid. And ever since the first time I looked up on a moonless night and couldn't believe the amount of stars I was seeing in the sky, I've always had questions about that and the vastness of space and our meaning and connection, the big existential questions. And so it drove me in my life to a point of seeking those answers, but always trying to find that sense of peace and happiness. I never felt content. Maybe it came from my childhood, I don't know, but I always felt I wasn't good enough. And so I was always searching for what that thing was that would make me just kind of be at this state of peace. So put myself through school out in Arizona, got married, got a job, did all the things you're supposed to do to so-called live the ideal dream life or American dream or find peace. And it wasn't working. So I got really nervous in my mid 30s. I'm like, okay, I have 2 kids. I love my family, but when do I get to just relax and say everything's cool, and I'm at peace? And finally I couldn't take it anymore. And I was really concerned because I was working really hard to try and achieve that, thinking that maybe it had to do the last thing, maybe it was millions of dollars or money. And then one day I realized that money had nothing to do with happiness. And when that answer went away, or that supposed answer I thought was to the issue, then I got scared. And that's when I sort of reached out and said, look, universe, life, God, however you want to express it, I need some answers. And I don't care what it costs me to get them. It was a really important moment of yearning and humility. And then a couple weeks later, I had the first event, which was I was in a class for the finance business, which I was still in at the time. And the instructor was talking about how you create the whole experience, how you buy the investment, the amount, the time frame, when you get in, when you get out, you're creating the whole result. Wow. We're not just doing this, as it relates to the finance world. This is what we're doing up for our whole life. And so the egg was cracked, so to speak. And I was like, okay, I think I'm on the path to figuring this out. That just sort of flipped the switch for me. The second thing that really blew me away, Noel, was that I had asked these questions in a deep moment of yearning. And here, a couple weeks later, I realized that the answers I was getting in this little seminar were related to that question. And then it hit me. This is how life works. It's here to provide you with the answers when you're ready, because life is about the expansion of awareness. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I've just taken the top off Pandora's box. So I started firing off a whole bunch more questions, being in this really present and mindful state. Not that I was forcing things. I wasn't like adding up numbers on license plates to get I wasn't like going that far. But I did get license plates that, came in front of me that said, MRCLS-HPN, which was miracles happen, or, stuff like that, which I knew, was all connected. Or a comment from a stranger in a grocery store, or a line in a movie, or a song that I'd heard hundreds of times, thousands of times. And I finally heard the meaning of the song, that kind of readiness. So this window between question and answer was rapidly closing as I learned this. And then in December of 2002, I had the second event, which is almost unspeakable, the amount of insight, and it's really cool. When all this insight came to me about the nature of life and existence, I decided to write about it. But going back to your statement, what was so cool was I didn't have a background. I didn't go sit with anybody in India. I had not known much about spirituality. I wasn't steeped in the religion that I grew up in. I didn't have any preconceived notions. So my mind was open. And what that told me was that everybody has the same ability to come to this awareness and insight. And I think just knowing that, and sometimes we get caught in the story of it all, right? The E word, which I don't use a lot, but I'll use it to explain it. Enlightenment, what is that experience where you're floating and light hits you? And yes, there is an experience, but it's the more you search for the experience, the harder it is to have it. It's the awareness that you should look for through the questioning and the inquiry, that when you get the awareness creates the state, because it's so beautiful and so relieving. So I was excited about that. And to your statement, that's what I think is cool, is to be able to share this, to shorten other people's journey to the release of suffering and the understanding of, I'm going to jump to a big statement here, and it's the premise and the core of the book, but to really truly understand their beauty and their perfection right here and now.
Love it. Wow. You said so many things that just inspire me right now, Howard. I'm like, if you're watching this on YouTube, guys, you see me nodding and bobbing and smiling, and you guys can. So you said so many things right there that, for one, I just want to highlight to the audience what Howard just described as far as asking the powerful questions to the universe, and connecting the dots that, wow, we receive the answers to these powerful questions when we're ready to receive them, was by far one of the biggest, aha moments of my life. And I love helping people become aware of that, because as long as we don't need to know, how it's going to come, when it's going to come, where it's going to come from, who it's going to be, all these details of life that can really just make us anxious. And when we're anxious, we're not in a state to receive answers about anything. It's awesome when we have this realization, because I'm the same way. I'm so excited whenever I have, an answer or a question about, anything in life, like any area of life. Sometimes the answer will come to me in meditation. Sometimes it'll come to me, I could just be taking a shower. I could be doing anything. I notice typically I'm in a pretty good mood when the answers come. Like I'm ready to receive it.
Good comment.
Yeah. But that's awesome. And I also like how you stated that basically all of us have this capability. Like there's no, special.
No one is unworthy.
Yes.
No one, everybody's worthy. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's not for the sacred few, or it's for everybody. It's the whole point of life.
Yes. I love that you pointed that out. That's one thing I love to say, that there's no special breed of humans that are, different from everybody else. Like all of us have access to this power, and it's who and what, we truly are when we're connected with it and can participate in the co-creation with it. So that is awesome. I'm so happy that you said that. If you spaced on any of that story that Howard just said, rewind and re-listen to that part. So now, where you are now, Howard, what are you excited for going into 2020? At the time of this recording, we're right at the tail end of 2019. What can people, be excited or look forward to from you? Are you more on an individual level right now? Or are you more, macro? What do you have going on right now?
I'm doing both. I do a lot of individual work and private sessions. I do a lot of sports work, just because there's a lot of people that have come to me looking to sports has become so competitive that the separating factor is now mental strength and mind. So that's been great. And then, I'm writing a third book that's distilling the first two even further down, based on all the experiences I've had with individuals and individual stories of transformation and change through this work. So I'm excited about all of it, but I'm really excited just about the general state of consciousness that we're more open than we've ever been to really receive this and alleviate ourselves from any limitation and empower ourselves. and this isn't just, in our country, but globally, I think there's been a big struggle between those that have been in places of power through money or status or political power versus those that aren't. And I think the thing that's going to turn the tide on that is this inner understanding and power for so many millions of people. And so I'm excited to continue to bring that to a bigger stage so that more people just know that this material exists in a very modern day, relatable way. It doesn't have to be esoteric or cryptic. It can be very straightforward. And I wrote I Am and Time in a Bottle as straightforward as I possibly could, demystifying, for example, like the ego or the emotions or what consciousness is or spirituality is, and just putting it in simple terms. So that's what I'm excited about. I'm excited about continuing to bring that and see how much of the collective consciousness is really opening to this, because I think you can go back to the self-help movement in the late 80s and 90s, and then obviously Oprah and The Secret and all that in the early 2000s, and Eckhart Tolle and some other teachers, Wayne Dyer, so we're really well seated for this, I think, for a big movement. And I personally think this is the next movement in human evolution, is the expansion of mind, so I'm excited about that. That's a mouthful, but
I love it.
That's what I'm excited about.
I love it. No, I see it too. And I like to say, once we start to become aware of, and reminded of who and what we truly are, some of these things that we're fully aware of when we're little babies and running around just joyful, we could have fun doing anything. Once we as adults can be reminded of these things, you can't become unaware.
Right, exactly.
So
I've got
speaking out of more awareness.
Yeah, I got a really cool statement that I express sometimes in speeches or retreats, and that is simply this: if you knew how powerful you really are, you would never stop smiling. And that's what I learned through this process. Not that there aren't fits and starts along the way and new layers peel and there's new learnings, but the revelation of your beauty, your perfection, and the possibility for you will never stop. That is what the universe is here to do, so that we can continue to expand our infinite creativity. So it's really exciting. And the one addendum I'll add to this is that a lot of times people can get a little nervous about the word infinity or that unlimited potential. But the cool thing is, and this is to the divinity of life and how it works, it gives you free will over time. So you get to determine how fast or slow you go into the process, so you don't have to worry. Like there's no judgment on it. You can take it as slow or as fast as you want. But I think for this moment, the profound thing coming through is just to know that it exists for you when you're ready.
I love it. I love it. This is awesome. Such a great conversation. And the question that I've been asking everybody, I feel like you've been answering it the whole time. So I'm just going to ask it just in case more comes through, so you could share anything you're inspired to share. But I've been asking everybody, no matter when someone is attracted to this episode, whether when it's first released or 10 years from now, the reason that I share online or anything on the internet is because I love that it's always available. And I just want to make sure that, just like those authors like yourself and all the ones that you mentioned, which by the way, every single one that you mentioned has had a big impact on my life at some point throughout my journey, from the Eckhart Tolles to the to the Oprahs to the everybody. But now I feel like it's fun for me to be able to share these things, and no matter when someone's attracted to it, I'd say, well, this is going to be something that could impact someone, one person or millions. Right. And it feels good to get it out there. Knowing that today's the only day that's promised, today were my last, I could be at peace knowing that there's nothing inside of me that I've become aware of that I haven't shared that someone could be impacted by at some point, in the future.
So beautiful.
Yeah. So anything at all that you want people to know whenever they come across this episode? You've been doing it the whole time, but
yeah, no, I and that's really beautiful, and I so respect and honor that from you, and that's why I'm so grateful to cross paths with you. It's kind of amazing how quickly that happened, right? Here we are on the talking, after just 48 hours of connecting, which is so cool. But the one thing that I'd like to let people know is that no matter what they've been through in their life, no matter who they've been through their thoughts or their actions, this moment is always a sacred and new moment to define, declare, and demonstrate who you choose to be. So this can be the moment of rebirth right now. Now, let me caveat that. It doesn't take away or condone anything that's been done in the past, and it doesn't affect the karma of how people have responded to that in the past and how they might respond to you going forward based on that, until that's forgotten, until that, so you have to be aware of that and just acknowledge that. But that's irrelevant to the opportunity that sits in this moment to create a new I am statement, or statements of who you are, who you choose to be in this moment, and to begin to live that out from this moment forward. So, and because that's the only thing life responds to, is who you are being in any moment, any state of mind of who you are right now. As I think you mentioned on one of your Instagram posts recently that I saw. So that is the beauty of each moment. That's why I love sunrise, because sunrise, it offers to me this incredible glimpse of infinite possibility. The sun's rising, it's a new day, it's a new opportunity. So again, it doesn't condone and it doesn't stop the, anything you have to deal with from the past. You'll have to do that. But by declaring and defining a new you in this moment, you will be astonished. If given time and faith, meaning that you don't expect, you keep intending who you want to be without expectation, you will be astonished once you stop and look around and see how your life has changed 3 days from now, a week from now, 2 weeks from now, a month from now. It's almost like the process would be like when you hike a mountain or a hill or go on a hike and you're climbing and you're talking with someone on the hike, and then all of a sudden you stop to take a break. I know out in Arizona, we have Camelback Mountain, which I've hiked before, or any of the other mountains. And all of a sudden you stop and you look around, you go, wow, we've come a long way. I didn't even realize it because we were so in the process of hiking and talking. This change in you as you get into it and you just keep being the new person you want to be, will all of a sudden you'll realize how far you've come. But that's the beauty of the opportunity.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Such awesome affirmation for everybody to affirm for themselves, to treat this new moment right now as you're listening to this podcast as one that can be, whatever you choose to make it for yourself. And I love everything that you described. That it's rare that I don't have anything that I want to piggyback on, because I want you guys to rewind and listen to what Howard just said again. This would be one of the rare times in podcast history for me that I don't have anything to expand on, because he said it perfectly. That's
amazing.
Awesome.
No, well, I cannot tell you how much I appreciate who you are and what you do and the joy that which you do it with. I've seen it in your videos and your words, and it's really cool. So I'm really glad, to know you and cross paths with you. So, and hopefully we can meet in person at some point. That would be great.
Absolutely. I appreciate you saying that, Howard. And likewise, and Howard mentioned it just for the audience, him and I didn't even know each other existed on the planet, which is, again, one of the most fascinating parts of life for me. There's 7.7 billion of us, and we didn't even know each other existed 48 hours ago. And then the inspired, conversation, shows up, and I treat life like it's a mystery and an adventure. And this is one of those, adventurous parts of my day and my week. And who knows where it could lead. I really appreciate you taking the time and coming on and sharing your love and light with the audience. I know that everybody's going to really appreciate this episode for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, if anybody wants any further resources, they're welcome to check out any of my stuff if any of it interests them. But or anything that they find that helps them with self-awareness. If it raises your awareness on who you are and empowers you, it's great stuff and very helpful to life.
Absolutely. The timing of this episode is perfect. Literally in the middle of for those of you guys out there that are enjoying creating a new story for yourself, I highly recommend picking up Howard's I Am book. And then you'll get the full details of, if I would have tried to share, even a fraction of what's in his book, it would have been a 5-hour IGTV. So,
that's probably 5 hours. Yeah. I could go on. I can go on a lot. Actually, I'll show you the, just so they know what the title looks like, but this is the book.
Awesome. Beautiful cover.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah.
The power, it's my eyesight, the power of discovering who you really are. I love it. That's awesome. Awesome cover.
Yeah. So, and what's ironic is you didn't even know when we met that I had a book, which is, that's why we said earlier before we came on, I'm like, oh, this is going to be fun.
For the audience out there, you guys know this. I try to have literally the first conversation with because it's a conversation I would have wanted to have with you. I would have wanted to have anyways with you, Howard. And I'm just happy that we could record it and share it so that it can impact more people. And so,
awesome.
Yeah, this is awesome. Well, thank you again, and thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Enlightened Conversations. Definitely share this episode with anyone that popped into your mind while you were listening to this, and make an impact on them. And appreciate all of your support for the channel and rating and subscribing and reviewing and all that stuff. We're just going to keep having awesome conversations like these, and definitely connect with Howard. You'll see all his information here in the description. Connect with him on social media and follow along with his journey. And I'm excited to see where that goes for you, Howard, and just want to say thank you again for coming on and sharing your time with all of us.
Yeah, absolute honor of mine. And again, once again, thank you for being who you are. Really, really appreciate it. Make the world a better place, for sure.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you as well. We're all connected in this. We're all in this together. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's no greater time to be connected like this and to bring this information into the world. So
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you guys. Sending everybody positive vibes. We'll talk to you soon. Have an amazing, amazing day. Awesome. That was fun.
Yeah, that was cool. Thanks again. No, really, I really, really appreciate it. And like I said before we started, I was like, oh, this is gonna be cool, because the path you're on, the amount of stuff coming at you right now is you are so open right now, and it's just, life is like, okay, here you go, boom, and it's just, it's flooding you. So it's really, really, really cool.